Hey guys, and welcome back to Let's Play Dark Souls Kita Edition. Alright, maybe a year afterwards, so this is like Kita the Lost Chapter Edition, essentially, because I basically made this well, the audio, the VO is a year after I recorded the actual Let's Play, the gameplay itself, so whoops. Yeah, I lost the audio. It got corrupted, my initial audio, and Dark Souls 2 had just come out, and I just didn't have time to go and do post-audio because I was so focused on Dark Souls 2 mode. So, I'm finally doing it, like, pretty much exactly a year later after recording this Let's Play. I'm doing the post-audio for it, which is kind of a shame because I was so in Dark Souls 1 mode when I made this Let's Play that I was so ready to go for everything. I thought I had the best explanations for everything, but I'm going to try to do the absolute best I can with this audio for this Lost Chapter of Kita Edition. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're actually going to go into the Painted World of Ariamis, or the Duke's Archives, excuse me. Not Painted World of Ariamis, I'm crazy. Duke's Archives, because we're going to go find Big Hat Logan now at this point, since I got him to the point where he was going insane, and since he's defeated, we can actually go and find him. So I'm going to go ahead and quick cut it now, and I'll see you guys a little bit closer to Big Hat Logan. And I am back on my way up to Big Hat Logan. So yeah, as I go up, I figure I'd explain a little bit better what happened exactly with the audio before as I'm on my way to Logan, which is that essentially I did record this, and what you see for the gameplay I recorded a year ago within the same vein, around the same time as I was recording all the rest of my Let's Play of the Dark Souls series, and the audio sometimes would get corrupted the way I was recording it, so it wouldn't be funny if this one got corrupted too. And it hasn't since after this one. I figured out a way where it's never happened since, at least, or maybe I've just gotten lucky, but yeah, so it got corrupted and I lost it all. But here you have Big Hat Logan is now in the Duke's Archives, and this is where you can find him, specifically at where Seath was before in Seath's study. And one thing you'll notice is that he has no clothes this time around. And there's actually a commentary from Miyazaki in Game no Shokutaku about why this was and what he kind of indicates. And he just talks a little bit briefly about it. I think it was supposed to be something where you kind of figure it out on your own. But Big Hat Logan has no clothes here because he's gone insane. And essentially, it's just that quest for knowledge and this commentary. Same thing with Seath, where Seath went too far, and once you know too much, it gets to a point where you can go too much and you go insane from knowledge. And that seems to be the idea they're playing off of with Big Hat Logan. But he drops a bunch of things this time around, one of them being one of the best sorceries, that, and one of the hardest to use sorceries where you need the most for it. But we'll go ahead and look at his tin crystallization catalyst first. The catalyst imbued in terrifying crystal magic used by Logan after his fixation on Seath makes all sorceries incredibly powerful, but demands extremely high intelligence from his wielder and halves sorcery usage. But that could be really powerful if you want, you know, powerful sorcery, as long as you're okay with less usages. And yeah, again, the fact that he uses that crystal magic, that would be the next step, essentially, closer to the origins of Seath. And that's a lot of what we see, is the origins of magic in Vinheim is from Seath, and it's all originates from crystal, which then became soul, the soul version. So White Dragon Breath is this ultimate magic from him. Sorcery developed by Logan during his infatuation with Seath the Scaleless emits crystal breath of Seath the Scaleless. Although it no longer causes curse, what madness caused old Big Hat to appropriate this frightful power of the ancient dragons. And then you can see a required parameter there is 50. 50 intelligence as a requirement. So this is the most that you need, at least as far as I know. I've never been a big sorcery build guy. I've always been more of a, as you can tell, more of a dex build when I play. Or before that, I was shield and sword, block and walk, block and attack type of player. But since then, I sort of adapted to dex, and I just have so much fun playing that way. That's how I always play, and that's sort of what it's become. So, yeah, so I guess I'm like, I don't know why I'm still in the menu at this point. I guess I'll just have to figure it out. But I guess what I can talk about, well, and that's the hard thing about doing this post-commentary, is I'm like, what was I talking about a year ago when I recorded this? And I know what I want to talk about with Seath, but I figured I'd talk about it after I did the last Big Hat Logan thing. And we go to what we're going to get with the big magic ember, which we're about to get. But so now I'm at least going to the that big hat itself. which apparently I'm having some trouble finding since I never wear it. It's one of those things where it's like, well, it's somewhere around here, and I'll find it eventually. There it is. I see that. All right, big hat. It's by the crystalline stuff. That makes sense, actually. Yeah, it's like the stuff that you get in the way. Gigantic hat worn by the great sorcerer Logan. It completely hid his face, which led to his nickname Big Hat. Famously antisocial, Logan used it to block out noise and people's stares so he could focus on his own thoughts, but it does not possess any special magical powers. So just a little backstory into Logan as a character and who he is. And yeah, what I was saying with the crystalline set is that character that we meet on the way to Thief's archives, or Thief's study, I should say, who's like full of crystals. It's Big Hat Logan's thing is right by that, so it actually makes sense when you think about like, oh yeah, that's linked to each other where those are at. So yeah, the crystalline helm, especially that crystalline helm, is something that you might recognize as like, oh yeah, that was what that guy had that we met once that we never find out any backstory on. We get the large magic ember from this chest in here, which is really important when you think about it in a lot of ways for how, I guess, the connection to Vinheim and where sorceries come from in general and all that really they span all back to Seath, and that Seath is likely the dragon of Vinheim, because Vinheim is a dragon school, and the fact that, you know, the only dragon that they would ever be associated with would be Seath, because why would they ever associate with all the dragons who Gwyn hated? The only one that Gwyn's on the side of, which is who everyone seems to worship, is Gwyn. So the only one that seems to be okay is this Duke. So the Crystal Ember we also found here, which is but the large magic ember required for weapon ascension, handled only by the Vinheim magic blacksmiths. It's a large magic ember, a form of sorcery, but this is the one that allows you though +5 to +10. So the Crystal Ember, handled only by the giant gods blacksmith. It's a Crystal Ember created by Seath the Scaleless. This is also found here. So Crystal Ember and the large magic ember are here. The Enchanted Ember, however, it's an enchanted ember, form of sorcery, is a vestige into Ulasil, which I accidentally went away from, but that would be the other one for doing that type of ascension, and that's, if you notice, is related to Ulasil, which is also really interesting because Ulasil is where you find magic in general. Oh, I decided to go Homeward Bone. I didn't know that I Homeward Bone it. I guess I wanted to go quickly. But yeah, Ulasil is where you find a lot of magic. And they have their own magic, and then Vinheim and all that is so closely linked to Seath that you're getting both the large magic ember, which Vinheim uses, and you're getting the Crystal Ember, which is the higher form of it, which only Seath knows, which has kind of been lost in translation to Vinheim. But I think, again, that link to Ulasil and why Seath's there is the fact that we can look at that Enchanted Ember, and that's where you get that link to Ulasil, is very strongly in that. I mean, Seath to Ulasil, and the fact that Vinheim can use that. It's the same type of weapon in Ascension, and it again relates to the fact that why is the Moonlight Butterfly in the Darkroot Garden, and why is there are other things of Seath, like the Crystal Golems in the Darkroot Garden. And again, I think that relates to Seath probably going and trying to study and research Ulasil. There's a great question brought up in one of my comments of my Seath video, which is why didn't Seath just do it during the time of Ulasil since he was around then? And that's not something I can answer. And that's obviously something where this is just my theory on why Seath is linked to that part and why there are enemies who are very strongly linked to Seath in that area. And it could just be one of those cases of they were making a game and they just wanted it to be there, and we're just coming up with fan theories. It could be something as simple as that. It could be something as they didn't think it out through, like, completely. And if you really want to, like, come up with some fan theory about it, my fan theory, which is very theory of a fan about it, is, okay, so maybe when that was all happening with Ulasil, Seath hadn't gone completely mad yet, or he was so entrenched in his own studies and all that, he didn't notice what was happening with Ulasil until after the fact. I don't know.
So you have received a revelation. Very auspicious. I hope for the best. I pray that through you, her wish will be granted.
That's Guinevere that the Dark Knightus is talking about.
Have you heard of Seath the Scaleless? In legend, he turned against the ancient dragons. He became Lord Gwyn's confidant, was granted dukedom, and was allowed to pursue his research. At the Regal Archives, he immersed himself in research on scales of immortality, the one thing that he did not have. But his very research drove him mad. The archives became a dungeon, a place for sinister experiments. Now, nobody dares even approach the Duke's forbidden archives. It looms over this land high atop the mountain. But I should warn against even an approach.
See, the funny thing about what the Dark Moon Knights says here about Seath is I forgot to use her stuff in the Seath lore video as proof, and even without what she says, everything in there connects. And everything she says is just backup, essentially, for all the things from the item descriptions, and if you just pay attention to the environment, it all speaks to that exact story that she says. So at first I was kind of, when I first put out that video, I was like, oh crap, I can't believe I forgot to put the Dark Moon Knights dialogue into something to talk about and to utilize. But I sort of realized, like, oh wait.
What is it?
It's totally fine.
If not for me, what beacon? A gate.
Yeah, so I was just seeing if the Dark Moon Knights had any more dialogue that I missed before. So, yeah, I forgot to talk to the Dark Moon Knights earlier, so I just wanted to re-grab her dialogue, like what she first talks about with Guinevere and receiving that wonderful revelation from Guinevere. Such a majestic revelation that Guinevere would give. And... yeah, the thing obviously about Seath that we were just talking about. I actually didn't realize, for whatever reason, until just re-listening now, I'm like, how sinister she really does make Seath to sound, and that she goes on so much about his experiments and how bad they were and what he really started to become. For whatever reason, I'd forgotten just how extreme that was, but there it is. And now the plan is, so now that we've done Big Hat Logan, the real plan for the rest of this Let's Play is that we are going to take out the Gwyn family. We're going to kill all the Gwyns. If you have the name, if you have Gwyn somewhere in your name, I don't care where it is, but somewhere in your name, then I'm going to take you out and kill you. That's the plan. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and, well, I was going to say fast cut again, but I guess I could keep on talking a little bit. Yeah, because we have to move everything down another notch. I don't know why I didn't realize that. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to go down yet again. Actually, I have to go up to bring it down. Yeah, I'm gonna fast cut it. I'll see you guys in a moment. Alright guys, I am here down in Gwyndolин's area, so I hadn't gone here earlier and lit the fire, which I didn't really need to yet. I was kind of just wishing I had when I was warping, like, kind of wish I had done that. So we get the Ring of the Sun's Firstborn here, which is pretty interesting that we're finding it right outside of Gwyndolин's chamber, but another, one of the few indicators of the Firstborn, so... Lord Gwyn's firstborn, who inherited the sunlight, once wore this ancient ring. Boosts the strength of miracles. Lord Gwyn's firstborn was a god of war, but his foolishness led to a loss of the annals and rescinding of his deific status. Today, even his name is not known. And yeah, we find this right outside of Gwyndolин's chamber, so... I'd actually, when I first recorded this video, I had this great amount of insight into exactly, like, the argument on who is the sun's firstborn? Is it Soleil? Is it somebody else? And I really had it down pat. I'm sorry it's not going to be as good as it was when I first recorded this, as it's been a while since I've done a lot of research into that. Because when I was making those lore videos, you know, I kind of had basically every item description memorized for the most part. But my final conclusion with it was that personally, I don't think Soleil is the firstborn. I mean, this is personally, but everyone's gonna have a different opinion on the matter. The one thing is that Andre was initially supposed to be, Andre of Astora was initially going to be, and we know that from Miyazaki himself and the design works, and there's actually, it was going to be an event where Andre was going to move for you, which you need, something that, very story-based thing, but that was changed. We need to wear the Dark Moon Seance ring to get this to disappear, which relates to Gwyndolin. But Andre was initially going to be this firstborn, and that was changed. Andre is not anymore. But as far as Soleil is concerned, I think there are certain things that indicate that he is the firstborn. Like the sunlight, obviously, would be the huge indicator. But then there are also things that negate that and disagree with it. And if there's something that disagrees with it, I'm not going to jump and say, oh, yes, it is him.
Halt! This is the tomb of the great Lord Gwyn. Tarnished it shall not be by the feet of men. If thou art a true disciple of the Dark Sun, cast aside thine ire. Hear the voice of mine self, Gwyndolin, and kneel before me.
I'm totally a true disciple of the Dark Sun. That's what I dreamed of. That's why I'm looking at your design logo, the Dark Sun on the floor, and that's why I'm here, Gwyndolin. I just did it because I wanted to join you. I wasn't at all trying to tarnish the tomb of Gwyn, which he's not inside of. That's a secret. Yep, that's what I came here for, Gwyndolin. So Gwyndolin, which I don't believe I've talked about too much, is pretty much the, in my opinion, most integral part to the story of Dark Souls. And I think, to me, when you figure out and realize what Gwyndolin is doing, it's such a secret because you really do need to wear this and know to wear it here. And I don't know how people figured it out in the first place, to be honest, to wear that Dark Moon ring here to open up the secret. I hope Bloodborne has things like this, because now I'm recording this like literally like a few days before Bloodborne comes out. But anyways, the thing is, it's secrets like this that to me blew my mind for Dark Souls, and the fact that there's this entire hidden storyline that Gwyndolin is back here and he's controlling everything behind this curtain here, and really everything you're doing has been essentially Gwyndolin manipulating you into doing it. Like, he's controlling Guinevere from this area, and that's what he's doing here. And he also has so much to do with Gwyn as well, and the First Flame. But this is, like I said, this is to me the most brilliant, mind-boggling thing of the story, and the fact that it's a game where you don't have to have this, and it really relies on your exploration, your own discovery, and that's what you get out of the game. I think that this is the true narrative of gaming, where gaming should be as far as narrative goes. Because, you know, I do enjoy Heavy Rain, and I think that's a cool story, but to me, what really makes a story in a game is a story where you can only have it and experience it from the game itself, and that's exactly what this type of thing presents. Because there are so many different facets of the story, and what you discover about the story is very much based on your own exploration and how much you're willing to dig into it, which is what makes the lore videos of Dark Souls so incredible. But the fact that you feel like it's such a mindfuck, and it's so mind-blowing when you come here and talk to Gwyndolin and start to get his soul and realize exactly what he was doing and that he's in charge of Guinevere. And wait a second, that means if he's in charge of Guinevere, he's the one who is getting you to do everything that the Dark Moon Knights talked about and From talked about.
Hear my voice. If thou shalt swear by the covenant to become a shadow of Father Gwyn and Sister Guinevere, a blade that shall hunt the foes of our lords, then I shalt protect thee, safeguarding thy person with the power of the Dark Moon.
Yes. Yes! I will do it! I will totally safeguard Guinevere, and that was my goal, because I completely believe you that that's the real Guinevere back there, even though I think I already picked up an item that said otherwise. I believe you! I'm joining you, Gwyndolin, 100%, and then I'm not at all going to betray you or anything like that. Some people, like Ouroboros, like to stick in the Dark Moon Covenant specifically for the Dark Blade miracle, which is a really good one. Blue Eye Orb, and you get the Dark Moon Blade Covenant Ring here, which we'll go ahead and take a look at.
Now thou art a blade of the Dark Moon, hunteth the enemies of the lords by the power of the Dark Sun.
The thing with Gwyndolin, too, is that as opposed to Velka, who's all about justice, they kind of have similar functions in what they do. And there's actually going to be a Velka Covenant that was going to act similar to Gwyndolins that was cut from the game if you start doing some research on content with a Black Eye Orb. But these mystical orbs are granted the Blaze of the Dark Moon, knights who serve the Dark Sun Gwyndolin so that they may serve the gods in meting out vengeance. Invade world of player in bulk of guilty, subdue player to acquire souvenir of reprisal. So the big thing here is you get a souvenir of reprisal for it, and it's in meting out vengeance, which in my mind is different than justice or like for sins and like what Velka would be associated with. Vengeance is a different type of thing that you're really working for, because vengeance is, it's almost more personal, and especially since you hunt down people who are red phantoms and invaders, we're trying to subdue just normal undead going through the world. If Gwyndolin is in charge of this and having people almost in a way protect the undead who are being bad, like undead who are guilty and sinners for betraying covenants, undead who are guilty for invading worlds and hurting other undead, and undead who are guilty for hurting gods that Gwyndolin doesn't want you to hurt. Specifically, ones Gwyndolin doesn't want you to hurt. That's kind of where the vengeance comes in play. But yeah, I think that's actually a big point, is that it's only the ones that he doesn't want you to hurt, because it's okay if you kill, I don't know, Nito. Cool by me. Dark Moon Blade Covenant Ring. Ring granted those bound by the Dark Moon Blade Covenant. Answer Darkson Gwyndolin's summoning. Gwyndolin, all too aware of his repulsive, frail appearance, created the illusion of his sister Guinevere, who helps him guard over Anor Londo. An unmasking of these deities would be tantamount to blasphemy. So, there you have it right here. This is how you get the full story on Guinevere, is this ring. So, I think you get a little bit about it with those miracles that you get from the Duke's archives, but again, a couple things here. Gwyndolin is aware of his frail appearance, which I think is pretty important for the Dark Moon Nidus, and possibly why him and the Dark Moon Nidus relate so much, and why he's kind to their Dark Moon Nidus. But the other thing here was that we get 100% that sister Guinevere that we found before is an illusion that he created. So he is completely the voice behind Guinevere, and when you hear that talking voice telling you your mission of what to do, it is 100% Gwyndolin telling you that. So again, just a total mindfuck, as I said earlier. But hey, just wanted to say hi to my deity, Gwyndolin. Gwyndolin.
Why would a blade of the dark moon trespasseth upon the great lord's tomb?
Because I want to thank you for having me in your covenant. I was bringing you wine.
The words of mine self, Gwyndolin. Thou shalt not go unpunished.
Damn it. All I wanted to do was be a nice guy and bring him some wine, but fine, Gwyndolin. That's it. I'm coming for you warp and teleport. So Gwyndolin, when I first fought him, he's a very different boss and unique in the way you fight him, which is actually pretty cool. One thing is, I'm not sure, I think at this point most people are aware of it, but one thing I can say is that while this looks infinite, it actually isn't. And for my lore video, I actually went through and ran to the end because I wanted some good shots of Gwyndolin, because it's hard to get a good shot of Gwyndolin. So in order to get a good shot of Gwyndolin, I was like, I'm going to just run through to the end and just have it so I can like circle around him. And that's usually the shots I use in my lore videos, or any video where I need Gwyndolin. It's just me running around in circles around Gwyndolin at the end of this. But it takes about like 7 to 10 minutes to run through to the end. Maybe 5 minutes at like the fastest you could possibly do it. But yeah, so you can keep on going and you can reach the end of this. But again, what I was saying I like about it is it's really different, and it's a very unique boss fight. And I mean, you could do it with anybody, but really I think the best way to do it and handle this is this style, where if you're fat rolling and if you're a heavier character, it's best just to unequip everything and just run for him. And I'm sure people have done slow walking builds and killed him, but I think that'd be pretty difficult. I guess you just go with a lot of magic defense on top of your slow walking build. But he really only has those 3 attacks, where if he does this large amount of soul arrow type of homing soul arrows, homing soul masses at you, well, it'll be more like a soul arrow, then you run behind a wall. If he does the giant homing soul mass, then you dodge it and...
Oh, heretic, swathed in dark, an eternal curse.
No! Not an eternal curse! No! What am I gonna do? But it breaks the illusion. So again, he's the master of illusions, and that was just an illusion he created, was that infinite running. Solo Gwyndolin, it was a pretty damn good illusion, because I felt like I was running that whole time. But, yeah, again, just that whole thing where he's created an illusion, and that shows that he's really good at it. And in fact, his illusions are so strong, if you notice, a couple of his illusions are still there, like Guinevere and a certain son over Anor Londo. So he has incredibly strong illusions, which has led some people to think that all the illusory walls in the game were actually created by Gwyndolin, which is a really interesting theory. Soul of Gwyndolin, Soul of Darkmoon Gwyndolin, God of the Dark Sun and Guardian of deserted Anor Londo. Special beings have special souls. Use the Soul of Gwyn's last born to acquire huge amount of souls or to create a unique weapon. But He is the guardian of deserted Anorlando, and which is what we've noticed running around, that it's completely deserted. And yeah, again though, with him and all these illusions, I do think that's a really interesting theory that I want to throw out for people, which is that what if all of the illusory walls in the game are actually illusions of Gwyndolin that he created? And some of them would make sense in that connotation when you think about it, like, hey, Ash Lake. There's not one but 2 illusory walls to get to Ash Lake, and where's one place Gwyndolin, who's son of Gwyn, who, oh, we get the brass set here, by the way, which is from the Dark Moonitis, but son of Gwyn, who hates the dragons, would want to keep you away from. And then the Sunlight Blade miracle here. So if you want Sunlight Blade, this is where you go. If you want Dark Moon Blade, don't do this, man. Don't kill Gwyndolin. Yeah, so it actually makes sense he would keep you out of Ash Lake. There's dragons there if you want to join the Dragon Covenant and become a dragon. That's where you see the rest and the remainder of the old world, essentially, before Gwyn's reign. Brass Helm, Helm of Dark Moonitis, Firekeeper of Anorlando. After becoming undead, she visited the Dark Sun Gwyndolin at the Mausoleum of the Spiral Deaths, became a Blade of the Dark Moon, and assumed the flame-keeping duty. She received this helm, which hides her hideous form and helps her hunt the guilty. And all of these say the same thing, but what's really cool about this here, in my opinion, is she received the armor which hides her hideous form and helps her hunt the guilty. And I have a feeling that because Gwyndolin is all too aware of his frail appearance and his ugliness that he self-perceives, he probably really relates to the Dark Moonitis. And again, I guess it's fan theory stuff, but I mean, it would seem to me that it would be a big reason why he would help her and why he would accept her, is because he understands what it's like to be unwanted and to be not accepted and to take someone in. Sunlight Blade, the power of sunlight manifested as lightning, is very effective against dragons. When the eldest son was stripped of his deific status, he left this on his father's coffin, perhaps as a final farewell. Miracle wielded by Lord Gwyn's firstborn, boosts right weapon with rays of sun. So again, that whole idea of sunlight being associated with, and everything with the sun being associated with the firstborn, again with Gwyn himself as well. But that's another reason that people really like to speculate that Soleil is a member of the, or was the firstborn of Gwyn. So, you know, you can debate that all you want, and that's going to be a very back and forth thing depending on your own opinion. But I believe when I recorded this, my opinion had basically come down to that I didn't think Soleil was the firstborn. But I know people will hate me for saying that, but that's what it is. If only I'd done a Soleil lore video, I would have really had all the item descriptions to say it and talk about it. But it's going to be a back and forth thing, and there really is no real, complete, 100% concrete answer, which is part of what's really cool about it. But we're going to go ahead and head to the other Gwyn. The other Gwyn, Guinevere, and let's take out some illusions. We need to take down some of these illusions down a notch, so I'll see you guys in just a moment. Alright guys, welcome back from that really brief cut. That's like 10 seconds for me. I don't even know why I said welcome back. And we're at Guinevere and going to have probably, in my opinion, the most depressing moment of the game. I don't know why anybody would do this. This is something that doesn't come natural to me. I just needed someone to show me that you have to do this, because I would never do this. So I was just checking to see if she had anything new to say. And by her, I mean Gwyndolin, because it's all Gwyndolin who's speaking this stuff. Also, I forgot to mention while we were talking about Gwyndolin that Gwyndolin is has the appearance of a female in some ways. It looks like he has a bit of a chest, and he was raised as a daughter, so just a lot of insecurities on his part. And the fact that he was raised as a daughter because of his affinity to the moon, which might, as my friend John indicated, whoops, missed with that, even though it's way too big for me. I was like, I gotta do the giant Dragon Slayer Grappo arrow right into her chest. It's absolutely important. You know what I just noticed? It bounced off of it, although it probably bounced off of the chair behind her. Oh no. What did we do? What hath we done? Oh no. So something about this cutscene right here is if you didn't kill Gwyndolin and you do this with Guinevere, you'll actually get Gwyndolin talking about how you're a heretic for doing that and destroying the illusion. And you get a little bit of dialogue from Gwyndolin. But the fact that we killed him first, it doesn't happen. So I actually think that's pretty cool that there are really minor differences in events that were planned out. That, again, is something I'm really hoping and looking forward to Bloodborne probably potentially having as Miyazaki was in charge. And I imagine that's a Miyazaki key point to have those types of minute details. Because I think you can sort of tell when it's truly coming from an artist. And I think that's Miyazaki, again, that artist factor. But I want to run through here because I forgot that since I killed... What's his face? The dick bag. Since I killed that guy, his set's going to be here. The Helm of Favor, the Braced Armor of Favor, the whole set of Favor from Lautrec. That's his name. Although I prefer the name Dick Bag. From Dick Bag Lautrec. He's a dick bag full of dicks. A bag of dicks, dick bag. Imagine that in your head. Imagine walking up to a forest and finding that. Helm of Lautrec the Braced, representing the goddess Fina's love. During his solitude, he forsook everything for he believed in the goddess's love for him. Armor of Lautrec the Embrace, representing the goddess Fina's love. The goddess's arms wrapped around it as if to embrace the wearer. And I think actually that specific piece of armor with the Embrace, I think I remember in the design works them talking about it being one of their favorite designs because of how unique it was and how personal it felt. And that seemed like the general concept for how they wanted Dark Souls art design and all that, and how everything has a story behind it. And Miyazaki kind of had a method of going on with how he would create things, essentially, where he would turn to an artist and say, hey, I'm going to give you this general oversight, and I want you to create your own backstory and create your own story for things. So all the different artists create a lot of their own backstories to the things we find, which I think is part of why the world feels so full. Is it's that different personalities creating their own backstories for each character and personalities for these different designs and armors, which makes it have one. So these guys that we find right here would be a Balder Knight and a Baronique Knight. The Balder Knight's the one in the front and the Baronique in the back. And there's a couple speculations as to who these guys are, since they appear specifically after we've broken the illusions. There's basically two main theories. One being that these are Blades of the Dark Moon that Gwyndolin has set out, which is very possible. And that's actually the theory that I personally fall under and believe in. I didn't know I died against them. It's hard when they team up on you. Alright, guys. We'll see in just a moment. Alright, guys, and I'm back. Not gonna let the Baronique or Balder Knight get the better of me. I'm like, Gwyndolin, not a thing. But his Baronique Balder Knight friends, way more difficult. So, the other theory that people have about this Baronique and Balder Knight are that Ornstein and Smo that we fought were illusions, and this Balder Knight that's right in front here that I just parried like a pro! Parried like a boss! The Balder Knight is, in fact, Ornstein, and the Baronique Knight, which is that heavier set one, would be Smo. And that those were the illusions. The illusion of Gaia. Also, another thing I want to note, too, before I talk a little bit more on that, is that if you can kill one of them, even if you die by the second one, the other one is just permadead, which is kind of nice if you do have trouble with these guys. But if you parry like this, and I forgot how awesome parrying is in Dark Souls 1. I love it so much! It feels so good. Even though I'm just watching myself do parries, I'm like, yeah, that was sweet. I'm so happy that I pulled that off, except for that one that I missed. So personally, I don't think this is Ornstein and Smo. In my personal opinion, the fact that they dropped those souls means that they are important enough that those souls and that they were big bosses. But I think that would mean that they were actual themselves. That's who you fought were the real ones. And maybe it's because they gave me so much trouble when I first fought them. I was like, no, they have to be real. But I really do think that they're real, and that what we fight right here aren't the illusions of Ornstein and Smo, but rather just I prefer the theory, because it's still theory ground, really. I prefer the theory that they are Blades of the Dark Moon come to hunt you down after you've done this. Especially after Gwyndolin says his thing. If you do have the Gwyndolin speech where he talks about that, I think he even mentions that you're going to get hunted down. But yeah, the other thing too is we're gonna find the Dark Moon Nidus around here, as you see her hanging out right there, because now she's pissed off. So even the Dark Moon Nidus has changed, and she's coming to hunt you down. So I think that's just another reason that we know she's part of the Blaze of the Dark Moon as well. For 100% sure she is, and she's come to hunt you down. So it seems like now it's just created that free roam of people are hunting you down. And I think this is specifically for destroying the illusion that she appears here, as opposed to killing Gwyndolin. If you kill Gwyndolin, I think she still tries to kill you and will go fight you. The fact that she's using that parrying dagger so effectively against me, by the way, screw her! Screw her for that! But yeah, so I think the Dark Moon Nidus helps indicate that. So there's other thing too now with Dark Souls 2 out with the whole Ornstein thing of was it... I mean, this might be a bit of a Dark Souls 2 spoiler, but at this point it's been over a year, or about a year since the game came out. So if you don't want to hear it, close your ears for like 2 minutes as I talk about this. But it is something worth talking about, because I haven't really talked much about it, even in Dark Souls 2, but this is a perfect time to talk about it. That people think Ornstein appears, or the old Dragon Slayer will appear in Dark Souls 2, which is essentially like Ornstein, and people wonder if the Ornstein that we fought before was an illusion.
Is a threat, Master Gwyndolin.
Okay, so the fact that she says that there indicates that this is probably something where it's an event that happens regardless if you kill Gwyndolin or not. And now we get her soul, which is Firekeeper soul. Straws for humanity. Her brass armor serves to disguise this ghastly form. So that's her very specific ones for the soul of the Dark Moon Nidus. But we need it because we got to go to our friend Anastasia. That's my Firekeeper preference. We're going to go to Anastasia and have her give us some more power to our Estus flasks and our Estus chugs. So, yeah, anyways, as far as the whole illusion goes of Ornstein isn't an illusion, and that might be, for some people, like another indicator that, yes, this Berenice and Baldur Knight, that Baldur Knight was definitely Ornstein illusion. I still don't think it is, personally. I just don't. I do think this is a real illusion, and there's something else going on with Dark Souls 2, because you see the rebirth of souls and things like that when it comes to Dark Souls 2 and the cycle of rebirth, so I think it relates more to that when it comes to Dark Souls 2. Another thing you might have noticed, too, with having to destroy the illusion, Anor Londo's dark. Super important that I should mention. But the other thing is that all those guards are gone. So the big giant guards that were kind of a pain in the ass to deal with, those guys are gone. The winged demons, those are gone as well. The only winged demons that still exist are the ones who carry you up to Anor Londo. Another thing is, why are the winged demons even helping you out when there's a war of the gods against the demons? And I think that's the demons have, since they have lightning spears, which would be, again, that whole sunlight factor. I think they were actually betraying the demons, and they made some sort of pact with Gwyn. That would be my thoughts on the matter, because every other demon, it doesn't necessarily make sense, at least in the initial part, because there was a war of the demons fighting against Gwyn. They fought against each other when they first came, and that's why the Black Knights have all their description as the war against the demons. So that's something that is 100%. That's actually a lore fact for what was going on there. And I realized I'm doing this whole loading screen thing that I usually like to avoid, but I had my thing to talk about. So at this point, yeah, gonna go to Anastasia, get the +4 Estus flask, and then from there, I believe it's time to go fight the final Gwyn and be like, hey, Gwyn, other than your child who you banished and destroyed all of his annals, and that one who I don't know, other than that one, I killed all your kids, and now I'm coming for you, because the Chosen Undead is an asshole. Yeah, I decided to just say screw it with Frompt, and I don't care. I don't care. Actually, if you go down this way and do it without him being down there, I think you actually piss him off, if I remember correctly. I think that's one way to piss him off. There's a couple ways to piss him off, and I think this might be one of the ways. Possibly. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I think that might be one way to piss him off. Obviously, if you talk to Koth, you piss off Frompt if you go with the whole Koth thing and choose Koth over Frompt. But here we go. Here we go, ready to do it. Look at that beautiful hollow hand. You wouldn't know with my giant mask on. My father's mask, I should say. And there it is. We've opened the door into the kiln of the first flame, and we are ready to go to finalize this thing. So something I noticed that I don't think anyone's ever talked about before, like EMB or anybody, is if you notice this area right here, it actually looks like a giant humanity sprite. And this is something I noticed specifically during this Let's Play as I was doing it, because what we're walking into is the black part of the humanity sprite, and the whole white around it is like that white area. But it's really interesting, and I'm sure that has to be on purpose. Like, look at that. Even looking behind, you can see it looks like a humanity sprite, and like we're within the humanity sprite. You also get the Ghost of the Black Knights walking around, which is also important to note. But I think that's a really cool thing I want to point out. Another thing here is if you look up into the kiln of the first flame and look around this area, and I'm pulling out the binoculars for this, and I know I wanted to talk about this, is that some people think that it's an open top because it looks like it since it has this atmosphere to it, and you can see all these clouds going around. But I think those are just dust clouds from the fire, because if you actually look up and really pay attention, you can kind of see there that the way that the sky looks actually is a giant dome. And you can see that in the way it looks. And you can say like, Dave, it's just a crappy, shitty texture and they just didn't do it well for the sky. But they do sky textures fine. Up until this point, this is the only time I've ever seen one that looks like this, where you can see specifically those rings going through it, like it's inside of a dome. So I'm actually fairly positive that while it looks like you're outside all of a sudden here, you really are within a giant dome. And as it is a kiln, that's sort of how kilns work. And people have pondered, like, oh, is the kiln within Izalith? Is that thing that you see? It just could be that that's where this is. And it didn't make sense before when you think about it as looking like you're outside. But when you realize that that top really is a dome, and that really is what we're looking at up there from looking at the sides, that does kind of help indicate that, yeah, even here you can sort of see that. And maybe that's just the light reflecting, now that I'm looking at it right now, but I still think that could possibly be just a dome structure that we're staring at and seeing. And look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it really is a sky up there because you can kind of see some light above the kiln. And I could be wrong, but I really think that it could just be that we're inside of a dome. So this path, actually, it's funny, my first time going through this path, I hated this path. And then now I actually really enjoy it because I like this practice with the Black Knights, and I actually think it's a lot of fun. Also, if you need any chunks and you want to just start like leveling up with the various chunks, this is the perfect place to get it. I did a great job there healing. Absolutely perfect job on my heal there. Come on, me. I actually don't know. I'm rewatching this. I skimmed through it before I did this just to make sure, like, okay, these are the places I went to, and this is the things I'm going to need to talk about. But just rewatching it in full like this, I like literally it's been a year, so I don't know the specific spots I'm going to die at, and I think that actually could make it fun. All right, so like here, we got a Titanite chunk. So this is, just for a normal Titanite chunk, it's a good place to go. But all the ones that wield the different weapons drop different colored Titanite chunks. So if you want like blue Titanite chunks, green Titanite chunks, this is a good place. White Titanite chunk, this is a good place to go to collect it. Did I actually? Wow, I can't believe I pulled that parry off. It's funny, I was just going to go be safe and do a backstab. I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll go for the parry as I'm running past. Oh yeah, he always throws me off on that one. That one's always the big one he throws me off on, because I always forget, do it early like I just did there. And then I'm going to have to, well, let's see, am I going to go for the parry? Yeah, I guess I'm going for the parry. And screwing it up. Oh, no! See, there it is! I didn't know I was gonna die there. I guess it can be a pain in the ass to run through. It can be. It can be from Advanced Wars. Especially like if you're just having trouble with Gwyn, you want to just go through and be like, I'm having trouble with Gwyn, I just want to get there. It's kind of a long run, but it's pretty easy once you know how to just do that run through. And here I just wanted to, the reason I left it going was just because I really wanted to show this humanity sprite look again, and because I talked about it. I just want to be like, look at it. I know at some point in this Let's Play, it was after this point I really notice it and start to look around, so I guess once it gets to that point, I guess that indicates I'm going to die at some point here. Whoops. There's another death coming. Spoiler. Damn it! Damn it! I didn't want to spoiler that. Anyways, there's another death at some point coming. I wonder where it's gonna be if I know I died at least at one point here. Anyways, and if I can figure out where that is, I will show that. Another thing I should talk about too, since there was another death at some point as I'm running through doing this thing, I do actually still have audio from... Oh, sweet, I got Black Knight's sword this time. Anyways, I do still have audio from after I defeated Gwyn, because after one of the deaths, that was when I noticed that the audio had fucked up. And I tried to, like, save it and just start a new project and stuff like that. And the new project that I started before killing Gwyn worked fine. So my actual killing of Gwyn is an audio project that worked. And that will be the real audio and real reactions. So I'm going to talk about things like how excited I am to play Dark Souls 2 and things like that in that. Which, if I'm being perfectly honest at this point, now that it's been a year and Dark Souls 2's come out, I do think it's a good game. I think it's a really good game, but I don't think it's as good as Dark Souls 1. And I was definitely feeling that hype train, especially that's where I'm at with Bloodborne, to be honest. But I was definitely feeling that. And I still really do like the game. I do think it's a really good game, but I do think Dark Souls 1 is a better game in several different ways. But regardless, I'm going to end up talking about, like, oh, I can't wait to play Dark Souls 2, and I got this done just before Dark Souls 2, so I'm excited, and things like that. Now, in retrospect, I'm like, whoops, I'm releasing this a year after the fact, and Dark Souls 2's already been out for a year. Whoops, but better way late than never, right? I don't want to be, like, one of those guys who never, like, finishes Let's Plays, and I thought it was kind of funny that, like, it almost was putting me on this trend of I'm not going to have finished the Let's Play if I did this. I think I just wanted to look down at the ash here and see how, and I was talking about how everything had just completely corroded. Because, yeah, one of the backstories here with this is that when Gwyn went in here, and he was accompanied by Black Knights too, and that's why their armors are all charred and why their armor's black. For some of the Black Knights, these ones we were facing right now, that is why their armor looks the way it did, was because when Gwyn relit the flame, it charred everything here, and yep. I'll see you guys soon. Oh. Alright, so one of the things about these Black Knights here is I actually think that it's also smart from a design perspective that they're here. Because when you think about the way that it's really the best way to fight Gwyndolin is with parrying. And if you want to, these Black Knights really are perfect practice for getting good at parrying. I mean, you still have to get the timing down for someone like Gwyn. Did I say Gwyndolin before by accident? For Gwyn. You still have to get the timing down for Gwyn, and the timing's always going to be a little bit different. But these Black Knights really are perfect parry practice. And so in that regard, it's really kind of a positive thing that they're here. If that's something that you want to learn how to get good at and focus on. You also get the full Black Knight set there, which is something I'd completely forgotten about, to be honest. It's like, I did not remember that that was there. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Black Knight set, which I believe will talk about the charring. It's the weapons specifically talk about being charred with the Demon War. This set talks about the Knights followed Lord Gwyn when he departed to link the fire, but they were burned to ashes in the newly kindled flame, wandering the world as disembodied spirits ever after. And disembodied spirits, especially when you see that giant humanity-looking sprite thing that gets you into the kiln. But that also kind of relates to what Miyazaki talked about. Armor of the Black Knights who haunt Lordran. And that kind of relates to what Miyazaki talked about, where he initially talked about wanting the Black Knights to always be in different spots. Those ones that, when you first play the game, freak you the hell out as you're going through Lordran until you get better at the game. But that are kind of like a surprise because there's such powerful enemies in lower level areas. And he wanted them to just literally wander around aimlessly and kind of randomly show up, which kind of relates to that description. But yeah, so here is the weapons. So Grace are the Black Knights who wander Lordran used to face Chaos Demons. The large motion that puts the weight of the body into the attack reflects the great size of their adversaries long ago. So again, this specifically talks about fighting the Chaos Demons. So these Black Knights then are presumably, the same ones who helped him fight the Chaos Demons, are the ones who then he trusted to follow him into the kiln. But yeah, so they were part of that war, as I talked about a couple times earlier in this Let's Play, against demons. And they also now then, and that's what their weapons were for, and now they then here have their armor is black, and the reason is instead of silver, like the Silver Knights, because it was charred from this linking of the fire here. Which, hey, if you read that description too, that also makes you wonder, like, should I link the fire? Because think about that. That's actually a bit of a clue right early on about if linking the fire is a good thing to do. What attack was that? By the way, Axe Black Knight, Axe Knight, Axe Cop. What was that? I died quite a few times to these guys on the way here. I've forgotten. I guess when I was playing this, I guess I lost some of my parry luster, especially when you're as low level. And like, I'm used to the fact that if I get hit, I can kind of just still have a chance to heal myself and try again. Whereas this time around, it's like, if you get hit, a lot of times you're going to get stun locked and die. So that was something I kind of had to deal with here. Oh, well. Now, the funny thing is, even though it's taken so long to get this Let's Play out, I've actually used the footage of me fighting Gwyn from this Let's Play in multiple lore videos. Because this was the footage I had of me fighting Gwyn, was from this. So I used it in a couple lore videos. Which is kind of funny, I think. I mean, only in a couple of them, like some later ones, I think. And maybe for Dark Souls 2. I definitely had to do it on my own for something else as well. I think for my Gwyn video, I had to fight him on my own a different way. But here we are, Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. So, finally made it to him. I was trying to see if you could parry that, and I still wonder if you can. I never have, but... yeah, this was... I knew I died at least once to Gwyn, so... there you go. So, I am gonna go ahead and quick cut it, so you don't have to watch me get all the way back to Gwyn, because it does take a while now, and... at this point, I just started using the run-through method, because, yeah. It just gets to the point where it's like, I don't want to have to deal with it so much, and, I'm also used to with Gwyn, too, before this. I was used to the point of having enough armor and such, and being at a point where I could just kind of sit through an attack, like one screw-up and be okay. But again, it just doesn't really allow it with Gwyn here, so... yep. Whoops. What up, Gwyn? We're back. Back to fight you. Back in action. Oh. Gwyn. Yeah, screwed up again. It's funny. I always get nervous when I have less health against him, which is not good. Yep. See you guys later. Not doing good with my parries. Alright guys, I am back specifically because this is where I noticed the whole humanity sprite thing, and I really wanted to show this and point this out, just how much this looks like a humanity sprite to me. Especially when you think about the fact that it always has the black on the inside with the white outside of it, and it just looks like you're walking into humanity sprite, and that's actually what both parts look like you're just sitting within humanity. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing, and I feel like that, I really don't think that many people have noticed or recognized that, so... I've never heard anyone talk about that before, but I do think I feel like that has to be on purpose, and that's for a reason. So it's just, you know, one of those things to think on. Alright, I'll see you guys back in Gwyn. Also, as a note, when I do come back, it will actually be the original audio from a year ago, untouched. So I'm just going to leave it as is and leave that at least as a marker of the experience. So thank you guys for joining me on the Lost Chapter of Dark Souls. And I leave it back to myself from a year ago. Hello, Gwyn. Lord of Cinder. So, let me ask you one thing. Who is your firstborn? Who is your firstborn? People want to know. It's a question that's been on my mind. Some people think it's Solaire. Is that true, Gwyn? We were just discussing this earlier as a group. I know you're wondering why are people so obsessed with it, but look, we're just curious. We're just curious. Your family's kind of important. I mean, you are the great Lord Gwyn. See? Flattery? I'm using flattery on you. I don't know why you're so mad at me. I'm coming here to link the flame. Or am I? Mwahaha! You don't know. You don't know if I'm gonna link the flame or not. You know, maybe if you just asked me, we could avoid this whole fight that we're doing right now, if you were just like, oh, well, what are you here for? Are you gonna link my flame or not? Because, baby, I'll light your fire. He's like, not letting you hit me like that. That ain't cool with me. A lot of slow attacks. Thanks, Gwyn. That all worked out. And Gwyn has been defeated. And with that, we have a choice. Let's look at his soul first, though. So, it's a soul that you can actually use. Soul of the Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight and Cinder, who linked the first flame. I think that's a typo. I think it should be Soul of Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight and Cinder. Soul of the Gwyn. Lord Gwyn bequeathed most of his power to the gods and burned as cinder for the first flame. But even so, Lord Gwyn's soul is a powerful thing indeed. So I think that's how he was still able to survive that, because his soul was so powerful. And I know there's a lot of question with, okay, well, why doesn't he use sunlight against you or any of that, or the sunlight spear? And I think he lost his power to do that when he kindled the flame and when he linked the first flame. So that's what I think that would be. So all the Gwyns are gone, except for Guinevere. We don't know where she is, but that's okay. I would never kill Guinevere. Wait, why is there a random fire up there? I don't think I ever noticed that. What? Let me find it. Let me get to you, random fire. Why are you there? That's all that's left of the first flame, is just that. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. What do I do? I wish I could ask you guys to just be like, guys, tell me what to do, but I'm not going to end this video right here. So, I think I'm going to link the flames. Just let's extend the Age of Light, or Age of Fire. I like the Age of Fire when it's in balance. The problem is it's not in balance. There's the Dark is going crazy. The freaking the Life Soul is going crazy. It needs to be in balance. Kita, you're going to burn, man. But don't worry, you'll come back for Dark Souls 2. It'll all be good when you come back. So, after this epic moment, when you do restart New Game Plus, you can buy Gwyn's gear from Domhnall in New Game Plus. Oh, I should have taken off my hat. Oh well. The father is dying! No! But his child and wife, what are they going to do without him? Alright guys, well that wraps it up for Let's Play Dark Souls. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is actually the first time we hear this song playing in the background, which is actually possibly my favorite song from Dark Souls. So, again, thank you guys so much for watching the whole time, for those of you guys who stuck with me through the whole time, and anyone who joined and started tagging along later on, thank you guys so much. It's been a fun journey. As I said, Kita will return for Dark Souls 2 very, very shortly. Can you guys believe who are watching this before Dark Souls 2 comes out, how close it is to coming out? We're so close to playing it. Oh, cannot wait. But if you guys, in the meantime, are waiting and want something to do, I'd say if you haven't watched it, check out my Let's Play Kingsfield series. Start with Kingsfield 1 North America, which is just called Let's Play Kingsfield on my track list. I love the game. It's one of my favorite games, and it's also one of FromSoft's first games ever made. It's their second game after Kingsfield Japan, and it's their first series ever. There's a lot of, you can see a lot of things were pulled from Kingsfield, and I also just think I did a good Let's Play of it because I know the game like the back of my hand at this point, pretty much, because I like it so much. But again, I hope you guys join me for Dark Souls 2, for Let's Play Dark Souls 2, and if you guys don't watch it right away, I totally understand. You guys, for those of you who want a completely unbiased playthrough of it, just on your first go without anything ruined, makes sense. If you guys want to watch my Let's Plays, I'm going to try to upload the first one day of, or as soon as possible. And as soon as I possibly can, I'll have the first one up. So hopefully I'm going to do the same thing, talk a lot about lore, talk strategies. I don't think I'm going to do a level 6 challenge playthrough this time around for Dark Souls 2. I've had a while of playing Dark Souls to get good enough to do that. But for Dark Souls 2, I think I'm going to be focusing more on lore and strategies and talking about all of that. And I will be doing Dark Souls 2 lore videos. I've got a couple other ideas for videos that I want to release for Dark Souls 2. Various one-offs and other things that I want to get done. So hopefully you guys will enjoy all the Dark Souls 2 content. There are some things I want to return to for Dark Souls 1 that I didn't get a chance to do. That I'd like to do, that hopefully you guys will stick around and enjoy as well. And I do want to eventually do Demon Souls, but right now I'm going to be wrapping up Kingsfield, Japan, for those of you guys who are watching this video on time. And then I want to actually get started with Kingsfield, the Ancient City, alongside with while I'm doing Dark Souls 2. Just to wrap up the Kingsfield series, and I'll be trying to do some Kingsfield lore videos as well. But yeah, I got a lot planned for this channel. And again, thank you guys so much who stuck with me for this Let's Play. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know, maybe if you didn't like my humor, I'm sorry. If you didn't like some lore stuff or disagree with me at points, I'm sorry. That's just who I am. And if you guys enjoyed it, I'm glad. So, Dark Souls, at the moment, it's one of my favorite games of all time. And that's very hard to do at this point in time for me. Because I've been playing video games since I was 2. Literally since I was 2 years old. I beat my first game, which was Mega Man 2, when I was 4 years old. And I grew up with the idea that I wanted to design video games for a living. I double majored in video game design and computer science in college. So I know games really well, I think. And it's hard for me, like at least a large variety of games, because I thought it was good from a game design perspective to understand what works in games, what doesn't, and be able to know good and bad games. And it's hard for a game now to beat out my top 5 games, even my top 10, and make it up there. And 2011, actually, Deus Ex Human Revolution got in my top 10, and Dark Souls is I'd say, probably my second favorite game of all time after Chrono Trigger, which is my favorite game of all time, still to this day, just because, I don't know, there might be a point in the future where I decide, you know what, Dark Souls actually is my favorite, but it's hard for me to want to rank anything lower. So even the fact that Dark Souls got in the top 5, that's difficult, I think, to do. But anyways, guys, again, thank you so much as this is wrapped up for joining me. And it's going to go ahead and load New Game Plus. So I'm going to do the wave as it does, and that'll wrap this up. So I don't know if I'm going to do New Game Plus playthrough, especially not one at level 6. If you really wanted to be evil to yourself, you do a level 6 Calamity Ring playthrough. I'm not going to do it. So guys, Kita here, saying goodbye. Thanks again for joining me, as I've said several times at this point. And I'll see you guys who are joining me for Dark Souls 2. Peace.